hear how social media impacts us, but I never hear about it really, even if it's from a biblical worldview. It's this is happening, that's happening, but we never get the remedy. So my goal in teaching this to you is to show you the deficits, but also how we can build ourselves back up as a family and truly be the families that God has called us to be. So, discipleship. Number one, you all, discipleship has been train wrecked because of social media. And I'm going to say discipleship and relationship. I think those two kind of go hand in hand. So God commands us to teach diligently our children. And I don't know that we are doing that the way we used to. Truth. Social media is hijacking what we think is true. And I have some slides later on to share with you some statistics about that. But we know that the ultimate truth is found in Him. It is not found on a social media post. It is not, even if someone says, I'm a Christian, you should believe what I say, it doesn't mean it's true, okay? Identity. So our identity is not in Christ the way it should be, you all. Our identity, especially for you young kids, you all, this is so important for you all. Your identity is found in Christ. It is not found in how many likes you have or how many people are commenting on your post. Those things leave you empty at the end of the day. And in a little bit, I'm going to talk about the brain science behind that, because I love to talk about that. And it's so important for us as Christians to understand the way that these platforms are truly rewiring our brains and making us just in a constant state of confusion. And then finally, self-serving. You all, social media is not about serving others. Even if you say something that's like, yes, I love what you're doing, or yes, that's wonderful, or how can I help you, or how can I pray for you? Those are good things. And again, you all, I'm not saying that it's always bad to be on there or it's not good to connect with people. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that I know people who, and these very smart kids in high school who will tell you, I am spending 8 hours a day on social media. And at the end of the day, I look at my phone and go, how have I been doing this for 8 hours? I don't even know what I've been doing. How have I done this? But you all, it happens. So when we're doing that, we're serving the self. We're not serving others. And you all, 8 hours a day, that's a job. And the thing is, they're not even taking the weekend off, and those numbers go up during the weekend. So you have to think about these things. So as I talk through this, I'm going to be working with this analogy, and I hope that it makes sense. And the basket on top, if you're wondering, this represents the family, okay? So there are some things in here that represent just family, okay? All right, next. Truth. Okay, so you all, truth, here we go. All right, Jeremy, I hope this thing works right. All right, first pillar down, truth. That is one way that social media has impacted us, is the inability to know the real truth. So, truth versus lies. Where is your light coming from? Is it coming from a screen, or is it coming from the word of the Lord? So, I want you all to really think about that. And again, I'm not trying to throw stones at anyone. You all, this is for all of us. It's for me too. But honestly, are we finding truth in the Word? Are we going back to the Word for our truth? Or are we getting on social media to find the truth? You all, we all do it. It's easy to get on there and find things quickly. But did you know that fake news actually spreads 6 times faster than truth? And algorithms don't care. Actually, did you know that algorithms are created in a way that they like to play on your emotions? So if you continue to click on things that have the ability to make you have a big emotional reaction, they're going to keep feeding you things like that, because that's what is going to keep you scrolling, and that's what they want, because that's how they make money. Okay? So Remember that. Fake news spreads 6 times faster than truth. Another tidbit. Every 5 minutes of negative news is equivalent to about 5. I've seen different studies. Some say 4, some say 6. So give or take 4 to 6 hours of a negative impact on your mood for the rest of the day. You all, that's 5 minutes. So multiply that by however many minutes of negative news you're seeing. And then think about and evaluate, what is my mood like the rest of the day? Am I irritable? Am I cranky? Am I, whatever it is. But evaluate your mood. You all, when you read the Word, you don't leave feeling empty and wanting more. And I hope you leave the Word wanting more of that knowledge. But when we read the Word and the truth, we don't have that empty feeling. We don't have that feeling of irritability. We have excitement and a true desire to be connected to our Creator. So we need to get back to the Word, because the Word is a lamp to our feet. That is the light to our path, okay? And we have to be sanctified in the truth, which is God's Word. It's not on social media, okay? So, y'all, I'm going to nerd out for a little bit and give you some statistics. So this is really something to pay attention to, whether you're a teen, an adult, whomever. So if you all notice in the graph, even if you don't know statistics, this is pretty easy to follow. You can see there's an uptick. And this is the percentage of increase of major depression among teens, okay? So for girls, 145% increase since 2010, and in boys, 161%. Did anyone in here know that? That's alarming. I don't know if you know about major depression, but it is crippling, you all. It's debilitating, okay? So when we are saying that we have young people with this increase, of course, that's creating more of a burden for mental health needs. It's a strain on the family, which again is why I want to communicate to you all that family at the end of the day is what this is all about and how can we strengthen our families. Next, we have anxiety prevalence. So I hope you all can see that okay up there. But again, you notice the trends are going up. But look, the 18 to 25-year-olds, man, they are really, really going up, okay? And in a minute, I'm going to help you put these pieces together with the next few slides. So this is just a quick overview of some trend statistics. So maybe it's helpful to see it in this way. And you all, something else I want you to keep in mind is this is not just a U.S. problem or a problem in Australia or Canada. This is worldwide. This is what the researchers are finding. And something else about research is sometimes there's a lag in it. We know as researchers there's something we want to study. We've seen a problem. But it takes time to get approval to study it. It takes time to get participants. Trust me, that can take a while. So there's a lag in this. And so we don't even know 10 years from now what this data is going to show. But right now, we do know that there's been 150% increase in depression indicators. 1 in 4 in 2000 for anxiety, but now it's 1 in 3. And that was British youth. But again, that's still okay because it's affecting everyone. Gen Z, 58% report frequent anxiety. And you know, even if someone doesn't have a clinical diagnosis of anxiety or depression, they're probably still feeling the symptoms, or they're not included in this data set because they haven't sought help for it yet. And you all, I'm just going to say this too. As a counselor who's a Christian, we have to be humble and we have to know that it's okay to struggle with these things, and we have to encourage our young people to get support, and that's okay. We want to open the door for conversations for our kids and not make them be fearful to ask us things or to say, hey, I'm struggling with this. So we want to say, you can talk to me about anything. And sometimes they might surprise you, and that's okay. You want them to talk to you before they talk to their friend or before they get on the chat bot who's going to lead them down this awful road, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So essentially, yes, all of these trends are going upward, you all. So let me give you just some other information that might help you connect the dots. Are you all wondering why the increase? Why is she showing us that but not telling us why it's happening? So, does anyone know what happened in 2010 with phones? Anyone? So in 2010, we had the first forward-facing phone, so we could take selfies and show everyone how awesome we are. Also in 2010, we had this thing called Instagram. So if you notice, it didn't show it so much in that data set, or I didn't really point it out, but from 2010 to 2015, there was a huge uptick in anxiety and depression, okay? Then in 2017, does anyone know what came out in 2017? What? TikTok. I didn't even include Snapchat. Yes, that's, I think that was around the same time. Yes, so, yes, TikTok, Snapchat, all these things, you all, that are supposed to make us social and just better human beings. But ultimately, they are literally deteriorating our brains. And I'm going to show you some information about that too. So as we're talking about statistics and families and the impact on family, I want to talk to you for a moment about screens and young children, you all. And this is really hard because I know that so many parents, grandparents, it's just easy to give a child a device to help them soothe. Well, actually, research is telling us now if your child is under 2 years old, that baby does not need a screen at all. And if you're a parent or a grandparent and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I've done that, my child is just ruined for life, it's okay. Because we know on the flip side that a lot of the negative impact can actually be reversed with just taking devices away, okay? So there's still hope, just know that. But so many times we see this when we're out in restaurants. We see a kid screaming, and what's the first thing the parent or grandparent does? Here, take it, just use the device. And actually, you all, that is teaching our kids to be less patient, which is not a virtue that I can find in the Bible, is to be less patient. We're taught to be patient. But this is teaching our kids to not be content. Does anyone know what I'm talking about here? It's teaching them not to manage their emotions. And you think about when a child is watching something on video, if they don't like it in 2 seconds, they can move on to something else. If they watch something for 5 seconds, they don't like it, they can move on. So this is teaching them to be so impatient. And it's also honestly weakening their ability to emotionally regulate. And you all, this has such a big impact on executive functioning, which is this prefrontal cortex part of the brain. And we need that. It isn't really fully developed until we're 25-ish anyway. But when we are taking our babies and we are just whittling that ability to have executive functioning at such young ages, it's detrimental, you all. And it causes children to have more tantrums. And then you all, I'm thinking about this from the lens of a family. When you have a young child who's constantly having a tantrum, it's difficult to deal with. I will tell you, it is hard. So we also know that, there's a reliance on screens. There's just this vicious cycle, you all. And we're kind of at this point where we're giving them digital pacifiers. So I want you to imagine this cute little baby chewing on an iPhone. That's essentially what we're doing, you all, okay? So something else that's very, very interesting that's coming out in the research now is this, the growing connection, right there, between intensive early screen exposure. You all, children who are under the age of about 5, if they have 4 hours or more of screen time per day, they are actually exhibiting autistic-like behaviors. So if you're thinking about this from a medical perspective and a parent brings a child into you and is saying, my child is doing this, 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 they're trained to say, okay, your child's probably going to meet criteria for an autism disorder diagnosis, so you're going to have to go get testing. When all the while, it's the screen, you all. So we have to keep this stuff in mind, all right? But the good thing is, we know that with research, once devices were removed from these children, guess what? They were restored to wholeness, essentially. So we need to restore ourselves to wholeness, too. Just going to say that. All right. So, again, you all, just the screens. There's a lack of ability to self-regulate. We know that. But also, we have these young children being exposed to violence and lack of empathic behavior. You all, that's scary. And so not next week, but the next, I'm going to talk more about the exposure to pornography. I'm going to talk about sextortion, human trafficking, all of the things that we don't really ever talk about. So because sometimes I think as a church we think, that doesn't fit in here in this box. And I'm not saying that against our pastor. His job is to preach the word. But I just think sometimes as a Christian society, we think that the world is dealing with those things, not us. But it's in the church too, and we have to talk about it. And as parents, I want you all to be prepared, and I want kids to know what social media is doing to them and how there's just this strong pull to view this information. All right, so moving along, just some common things to be aware of. Brain rot. This was actually, even though this is kind of weird to me because it's 2 words, but it was named as the 2024 Oxford Word of the Year. Wow. I mean, that's getting some attention. Let's just say that. Doom scrolling. That's when you're endlessly browsing through negative news. Then there's the zombie scroll where you're just truly mindlessly browsing without purpose. A lot of this is in short-form videos, and you all, short-form videos, wherever you're watching them, typically on TikTok, those are so detrimental to brain development for young children, and we want to talk about attention span. If you're a teacher in here, you know what I'm talking about, because attention spans are not what they used to be. And as I'm speaking to you now, I'm even being mindful of that because I'm not as exciting as social media or something you're going to see on TikTok. But I also want to bring your attention to something called technoference, which is the ability for parents to interact with their children because of a phone being in the way. And I think that picture just sums it up nicely. AI did help me generate that, just so you know. It can be good for some things. It's not all evil. But there's also something called sociogenics. So this is a really interesting term, and it essentially relates to an individual who is in an online platform. This is typically seen in TikTok when individuals are watching, let's say an individual with Tourette's syndrome. You all know what Tourette's is. So where people are watching other individuals with certain disabilities, and then they are taking on that identity and literally having the same symptoms and the same characteristics of the person with Tourette's. You all, that's pretty serious. I don't want to be taking on the identity of something and someone from online. I want the identity of Christ. And when we have young people who are taking on the identity of someone else, you all, it's not that they're watching these videos thinking, oh, I'm going to watch this and hope that I have symptoms of Tourette's syndrome. It just happens because the algorithms are tricking them. They are absolutely luring them in, okay? So that's just some information to share with you. All right, so next. So I would be remiss if I did not talk to you about the impact on academic performance because this actually plays a huge role in our society. It might not seem like it, but it does. So you can see that because of attention span, disrupted sleep, multitasking, there has been a global decline in test scores. And if you'll go to the next slide, I'll show you exactly what those are. So 30% decline in reading, 25% down in math. Essentially, kids are replacing study time with screen time. And a lot of this, I think, could be due to the fact that before this year, and this isn't specific to Kentucky, this is global, so worldwide, but before this school year in Kentucky, kids could be on their phones at school, and so I'm very proud of the state of Kentucky for saying no phones in the school. So I'm hoping that this will start to go back up, but we still can't control what they do outside of school, you all, and that's why we need this knowledge and information, okay? All right, so moving along. You all, I've told you a lot about how the algorithms are tricking us, they're pulling us in. So I will say back in, I want to say it was like 2018 or 19, there was something released called the Facebook Files. And essentially, there was a whistleblower, someone who worked for Facebook and knew the ins and outs of this platform and knew that the behavior, the teens' decisions and behavior are driven by emotion. You all, that's just a natural thing anyway, whether you're on social media or not. Teenage years are just filled with lots of ups and downs. That's normal. But while this seems to be positive, it's actually making teens very vulnerable, especially because, again, they don't have this prefrontal cortex that's dictating their ability to, I'm just going to say it this way, to think straight. That's okay. So although Facebook knew they were preying on these young children, they didn't care. They did not care. And this goes on, but all I'm going to say is, in light of the knowledge they had, they continued to push these things out. They didn't pull back. In fact, they just pushed forward. And then I have Instagram there on the side. Instagram is probably the number one culprit for the rise in anxiety and depression, especially with our teenage girls. You all, there is such a false sense of identity. And so if you get on Instagram and you say you look up something about, I don't know, how to look pretty for Sunday morning service, and you're a teenager, that's going to start feeding you algorithms that might end up leading you down a path that says, oh, well, this is how you become anorexic. This is how you become the ideal self that you need to be. Then you might get hooked up with the information that tells you about the corpse bride diet. And you all, that's where this takes us. Sin always takes you farther than you intended to go. So it starts with, how can I look nice for church? And then you end up knowing about the corpse bride diet. And unfortunately, you all, it's not in this information, but I've also done some research about eating disorders. And eating disorders are also on the rise because of this technology and this false identity and this narrative that individuals, and especially our young girls, need to look a certain way. So dangerous, you all. Okay, moving along. Okay, economic readiness. So, you all, essentially, as depression rates go up, guess what goes down? Success rates, people who want to be employed. Like I told you, depression is debilitating. And so as more people are depressed, less people are working. You all, I want to retire one day. So not just for me, but all of us, we need people in the workforce. But this is truly, this being everything I'm telling you, has such an impact on the family as a whole. So just wanted to share that with you all, just to kind of connect that. And okay, so next, identity. We're going to move into identity, and I'm getting close to 12 o'clock. It's okay. We'll be okay. All right, so next, identity. Oh, hold on. I don't think I want that yet. Let me do this one. It's supposed to be wobbly, if you're wondering. No, it's okay. It's okay. No, it's supposed to happen. Just maybe not that soon, but it's okay. So, you all, identity in the digital age, is it distorted or defined? And I hope you all will give me just a little bit more to kind of get through what I'm trying to explain here. So, as you noticed, I had the basket on top that represented things in a family, and the picture frame actually just says family, and then there's some other things. But you all, we can only keep it in so long, and eventually when one pillar falls, we're a little off balance, then another one falls, we're way off balance, and eventually that's where we land, you all. It's all going to spill out. It's all going to make a mess. So we need to quit ignoring the fact that there's a problem, and we need to start talking about it, and we need to start figuring out how to make it better. So that's the illustration. So we can't keep it in forever, okay? We have to find a way to make it better. And I'm actually going to give you that antidote probably next week. I have it, but we're not going to get to it today. Okay, next. So when you look at that picture, I want you to notice something. Right there, the little eye, and then that image. You all, the iPhone was created for me, for you, for individuality, so that I could have my own amazing experience on this device that's so different from everyone else. It's to help me develop my identity and to be all about me. And if you think about the image of the apple, yeah, Genesis 3. You all, and I have an iPhone and I have an iMac, and I love my Apple products. They're top notch. I'm kind of an Apple snob, to be honest. But when we think about it, it's really taking away from our identity. Not the iPhone itself, but what it is intended to do. It's impacting our identity. So are we in an identity crisis, or is our identity in Christ? Young people, social media creates false identity, okay? Older people, social media creates a false identity, okay? It's for all of us. So we need grace and honest conversations about our shortcomings. And we're not perfect, but we are redeemed, okay? So we know that we are crucified in Christ, and we've all sinned and all come short of the glory of God, but his mercies are made new every day, you all, and I think that's what we have to focus on. Next. Okay, I want to try to get through this little piece before we end. Okay, so those are just some brain scan images I found online. I don't know who they belong to, but I am going to tell you a story about brain scans. Did you all know that when someone is addicted to cocaine and they have a brain scan, let's say that that's this person, and this person over here is addicted to technology, guess what? Their brain scans look the same. Would you have ever believed that? They do. Do you know why? Because that gray matter that's connected to the prefrontal cortex is literally just being stripped away with every hit of cocaine, with every hit of dopamine from whatever you're doing online, okay? And I can get in, I could go down a rabbit hole and talk about this part all day long, but I won't do that. But I want you to make that connection that, if I went to bed every night and, I don't know, had a bottle of vodka before I went to bed, I had it by my bedside and I drank it, and I got up every morning and the first thing I did was grab my vodka and drink it up, you all would probably think I had a problem, wouldn't you? I would think I had a problem, or I might be in denial. I don't know. I don't do that. But what I'm saying is the same thing is happening when we go to bed, and the last thing we do is look at our devices. The first thing we do is look at our devices. You all, it's me too. It's everybody. I shouldn't say everybody. Most of us. It's impacting our brains, you all, okay, is the point I'm trying to make. All right, next. All right, so dopamine is actually the chemical that makes you want to do things that make you feel good. And guess what? Smartphones, They give us that instant gratification, effortless reward, and we develop a tolerance for it, okay? But we're left with a perpetual dissatisfaction. Just like when someone is addicted to drugs, you all, it's no different. They need their next high, and that might come in the form of whatever drug of choice they use. With technology, it's the same thing. We're all waiting for our next hit of dopamine, okay? And when that happens, we're getting that instant reward. So every like, everything you do, it's like, oh, there's that reward. But did you all know you can actually get that same reward from eating chocolate and giving or receiving a hug? I'm not saying go home and eat a pound of chocolate, but you can actually, your brain knows these things, okay? All right, next. Okay, this might be my closing point today, just to keep you wanting more, so that you'll come back next week and the next. All right, you all. So I've talked about dopamine. I've talked about some of the impact on the family. But I want to talk to you about something called death by electronic distraction. Has anyone ever heard that term before? Derek, you might have heard it. No? Okay. So, all right, I'm going to tell you a story. So a couple of years ago, and actually, you all, this was before COVID, because we know that after COVID, there was just a continual increase in a lot of this information I'm sharing. But Dr. Kaderis, who is a clinical psychologist, I believe in Texas, received a call from someone who was connected to the Air Force. And this person wanted him to, it was communication. It might have been email. I think it was actually email. And she was asking him, okay, this clinical psychologist, if he would come to the Air Force base and give a talk about gaming disorder and addiction. And he was like, well, this is the Air Force. I'm a little confused. Why would you need me to talk to the airmen and women about gaming disorder? And she said, well, in the past, I don't know what the time frame was, but they had, in the past little bit, they had noticed a decline in hygiene in some of the men and women, mostly the men, sorry men, just the truth. But they weren't taking care of themselves. They just really, like outside of their time, that they were expected to do a certain thing or job, they wanted to be gaming. But then she went on to say, well, there's actually more. We've had 5 infant deaths at the hands of airmen fathers. And at first it's alarming, like, oh my gosh, they abuse their children? Or what? But actually there's a low abuse rate within this population. And she said, no, it's not because of abuse. And actually they designated this term, death by electronic distraction, because of what happened with these 5 infants, you all. So remember I told you the dopamine hit. Every time we're doing something that gets a like or something on social media, we're getting that hit. Gaming also does the same thing for our brains. You all, some of these games are designated in a way or designed in a way that actually make people feel like they're having a sexual encounter. Just saying. So these airmen, with these 5 examples, their wives had gone out for a couple of days, weren't home, left their infant children with their fathers, which is a very normal thing to do in a family, and they returned home to children who were no longer there. They were deceased. And as the story goes on, these airmen were so consumed with gaming that they neglected their children, you all. This is 5 babies, and this is just 5 examples. There's also tons of research. I think 8 or 9 people die a day by electronic distraction, and that could be, texting while driving. But then the percentage is even higher of people who are just injured in these accidents. But you all, to me, that's a wake-up call. We can't just sit back and act like, oh, we're just going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and it not impact us. It does. It absolutely does. So let me see what's next there. But I think that's probably a good point to stop on. So, actually, this one's probably better. So, you must choose. Will you be formed by the Creator who loves you or shaped by developers who profit from you? So, guard your heart, and above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. So, I'm going to leave you with that. And you all, like I said, this is so much information. I've been dealing and researching with this stuff for years now. So, it's a lot to put into like three sessions. So, I'm going to leave you with that. I hope that it has given you some things to think about and consider. So I am curious to know between now and next week when we meet again, if you've started to pay attention to your time online and what you're doing, who you're interacting with, and what your mood is, okay? And also something else I want you to do. On your phone, you can check your usage. I don't know if you've ever done that. It might be kind of scary. Sometimes it is for all of us. But I want you to check that and find out what your usage looks like, okay? And I don't mean for work, but honestly, what is the breakdown of that? And I want you to be aware and cognizant of that, okay? So I hope this is, I don't know if it's been a blessing or a curse today. I don't know. I'm not trying to scare anyone, just give you the facts. So that is all for today. Hopefully you will come back next time for more. All right. Good.
Jeremy, if you would do something, some of these probably are so young they've not, no, I don't need that one. Some of these people are probably so young they don't remember this commercial. Look up on YouTube